Okay, in this video, we are going to be tearing this massive behemoth motor down. All right, I don't know if you can see that right there. That is a 60 horsepower electric motor that is no good. And I'm hoping to get anywhere from 70 to 90 pounds of copper out of this. Let's go ahead and scale this thing and see how much this thing weighs. Turn the scale on. All right, that's completely off the ground. And she's coming in at a whopping 976 pounds. That's a big one. All right, we're gonna have fun with this one. I'm gonna just start by trying to alleviate some of the weight. I'm gonna take this cover off here. I'll take this cover off right here. And once we get all the covers off, we'll be able to pound this shaft out right here, and that'll have the rotor, and that's probably gonna weigh 220 pounds. So that'll alleviate a lot of the weight on this thing here. So let's go ahead and get started. This grease zerd out of here. All right, so there's the cover. That don't weigh too much, so that's not gonna alleviate too much weight. We gotta get this fan off of here. That's just plastic. But we'll get this front cover off here. All right, so we get started with the screwdriver and a hammer, and then we get the enforcer out. See, I always check these bushings on the cover plates because sometimes they're brass, and that's a good chunk of brass if it is brass. And we'll pull that out of there. That is a piece of brass. Give it the magnet test. Yep, no magnet stick. All right, that bushing is not brass, so that's just scrap. Just for fun, let's weigh this rotor here. It's a good sized rotor. Okay, just the rotor itself weighs 252 pounds. That's pretty big. So that's a lot of the weight. Unfortunately, that's just all scrap. There's no copper in that one. So we got 242 pounds of scrap that pays like 6 cents a pound right now. But this is what we're going after, the copper. Let me get a file. We'll do a scratch test on it, make sure it is copper. I have never tore one of these apart that was not copper. Looks like there's an opening right there, and you can see that is copper. So that whole stator winding is going to be copper, and it's, you know, this file is about probably 12-14 inches long, and it goes all the way to, so that's this steel part here is 12 inches, about 12 inches long. So it's got copper all the way through every one of these little cracks, every one. So we got to cut this off and pound out the copper, and I'll show you how I do that. But first we have to get through this housing. This is 1/2 inch thick, and we've got all these cooling fins on here that we got to maneuver around. So I'm going to take a grinder and I'm going to go back and forth through here until we get through 1/2 inch thick of cast iron, and then flip it over and do the same thing on the other side, so that way we can just split this in two. Okay, so we got the stator off the ground in the air, and the scale is reading 331. Wow, it's a lot bigger than I was thinking it was going to be. That'd be nice if that was a 50-50, half steel, half copper. We'll find out, because we're going to pull it apart, weigh it. Okay, now we're ready to start making the money. What I'm going to do is, so normally what you see people do is they'll either get something to split this stator down the middle and then force the copper out each side, or you'll have people that will just cut off the crown. You'll see them force the rest of the copper out this direction here, all attached to the crown. But the big problem that I always have is when I'm trying to do a stator this big, trying to force one strand of copper out here, you have all the resistance of all this rat's nest of copper that's really hard because it's been coated in that resin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off this side here and this side, and then that way I only have to deal with the strands. So each one of these strands, after I cut it, it's going to be just like a 1-inch thick piece of copper that stretches all the way over to here and attaches over here. So all I will have to do is force that one piece out without this crown here and without this crown here. So that's what I'm going to do. So let's get busy. This is where our money's at right here. I'm kind of excited about how much copper is in this thing. I think there's a whole lot more than what I was expecting. I always go off of the, like I said earlier, I always go off of the horsepower, and if there's a, and I always give it like 1.25 to 1.5% of copper. So, you know, if I had just to do it easy math, if you had a 100 horsepower motor, I would get 125 to 150 pounds of copper out of it. Or this one was a 60 horsepower motor, so I said I was going to get, I'm expecting a 75 to 90. And I'm hoping I get more than 90 now after I see the weight on this thing here. All right, let's get busy. Start making some money. So the issue I'm having is the width of my saw isn't going to make it all the way through there. I'm going to try a Sawzall. All right, this thing is a chunk of copper. Wow, that weighs a whole lot more than I was thinking. Let's check out how much this thing weighs. All right, got her on the scale. Over 35.5 pounds. Wow. So that means the other side is going to be equivalent to that. So guaranteed 70 pounds. All right, let's keep working. Okay, just for giggles, let's weigh this one up here, see if it's equivalent. 32 pounds. All right, so it's close. So we're 60, half. The other one was a little over half, so I think we're about 67 pounds. And we'll do a final weigh. We'll do a final weigh-in when we get it all done, get all these pieces out. So we gotta tap all those pieces out. Look at those things are as big as my finger. They're about a little over an inch wide. So there's gonna be some weight in that. All right, let's get busy. Each one of those that come out is money. Okay, let's go ahead and weigh this stator up. I cut the ends of it off. Lift it up and see what we got here. I think still 263. Hopefully it's about 60 pounds of copper. That'd be nice. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to get the air hammer and we're going to take this rod, which you got to have a rod that's going to fit in those slots, and also it has to be long enough to get through, so that way you can hammer these out individually. Okay, as you can see, that's not working. This is just too big of a stator to force those pieces of copper out. There's just too much resin built up in there, and they are in there tight. So I'm gonna have to go to plan B. I'm not sure what it is yet, but may have to try to split this stator somehow. Okay, plan A didn't work and plan B didn't work, but I think I got an idea here that's going to help. What I'm doing is, you can see where I tried to cut with a Sawzall and it just wasn't going anywhere. But what I started doing was separating these plates, like maybe 3 or 4 plates at a time with a chisel, chiseling all around, loosening up all the resin that's in between the plate and the copper. And I think if I go about halfway, if you look down there, you can see the copper. So if I can split this enough, spread this out to get to where I can get to the copper, I can take a Sawzall and just cut it all the way around. And that's my next plan. We're gonna try it. I'll let you watch. All right, everything that I was doing was not working. I had a plan A, B, C, D, whatever, and they weren't working. So off camera, I figured out a way, and you can see right here, I got one out. The way I did it was a long process. It was pretty much pulling 2-3 wires at a time out, and I'm going to show you how I did it. So each one of those windings has a plastic insert, and you can see it if you're looking right here. I'm going to blast that out of there, and it'll loosen up the wires on the top, and then I can start pulling those off. And then once I get a good layer out of there, then I can probably just hammer it out. I like starting in the middle here. This is pretty darn hard. It's holding all that in there. And you pretty much just got to pull these out one by one. Sometimes in twos. Once you get the first few, they're all bound up, the rest kind of come out a little easier. Here's this plastic. This plastic stuff is throughout that whole stator. It makes everything super hard. That whole thing throughout that whole stator is coated like that. All right, that's the whole thing, minus what I've already got in there. Try to pull all this plastic off, make the scrapyard happy. All right, let's weigh this up. I'm gonna count these real quick. So I already pulled one out, I just pulled the second one. We got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. Got 48 of these. We're going to weigh them up and see what they weigh individually. All right, I'm going to turn the scale on. Zero that out. And it comes to 1.45, 40.45, minus 2/10 for the blue tub. So 1.25 pound per slot. We got 48 more. So if you do the math, and that tells you that it's going to be worth it. It's going to take me some time. I'm going to do it off camera because I don't think my phone has enough memory to do a 5-hour video. So I will get back with you and show you the empty stator and the bucket of copper, and we'll weigh it up and see what we got. All right. Okay, so I've gotten this far. I figured I'd just give you an update. Each one of these has been taking me an average of about 12 to 15 minutes to get out. So you can see I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 more to go. And I guess if you do the math, that's going to take a few more hours. So I'll keep you updated. It's time to get back to work and get these copper chunks out of there. I've gone too far to stop, and there's just too much copper left in there to leave. So I'm going to get it. All right, finally we're down to the last slot, and I'm going to be able to pound this last one out. Be done with it. There we have it, the last one. Now it's time to weigh it up and see how we did. All right, so here's what we got. We got the 2 crowns, and then we got this barrel full of all the copper strands that were pulled. You can see some of them come out in pieces, but many of them come out in just a couple wires at a time. And it was a long process. I'm guessing I probably had about 18 hours involved in this. So when we figure out how much money we made off of it, we'll be able to figure out an hourly wage on that and see if it's worth it. To me, it's worth it because this is just a hobby to me. But all right, let's go ahead and weigh this up. All right, I got the scale all ready. We're sitting here. I'm gonna raise this up and see what we get. All right, it's off the ground, and we're at 70 pounds. And then I got to throw in the 2 crowns here. There's one. And there's both crowns. And we're at 139 pounds. Minus 11.5 pounds for the bucket. So we're at 139 pounds for all the copper, minus the 11.5 pounds for the bucket weight, and that puts us at 127.5 pounds of copper. Number 2 copper that we're going to be able to take to the scrapyard. And last I checked, it was $3.35 a pound. So if you do the math, you'll figure out how much money we made. And like I said, I bet you I have 18, maybe 20 hours involved in this. Plus, I've got all the steel that I can take, and there's probably another $50–$60. And if I pick up all my little scraps that I got laying all over the place, I got copper wire laying all over. So we had a good day on this. All right, so we got the motor taken apart. We got it all weighed up. Let's take it to the scrap yard and get paid. Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.